Good morning and welcome to On the Record with Buddy Cianci. ABC 6 News on the Record. We have a special edition of ABC 6 News on the Record today. A historic moment. For one price of the ticket, you get three mayors. You get myself, but you get me anytime. But you can very rarely we have the two mayors on the show, three mayors on the show. And I thought it would be interesting since the capital city is such an important part of the state's economy and also part of the state's future. I thought we'd have two other mayors other than myself. Mayor Joe Paolino to my left, who was mayor from actually replaced me in 1984 to 1991. And of course, Mayor Angel Taveras, who replaced, I believe, Cicilline back in 2011 and served until 2015. And we could sit here all morning and talk about more stories and what we did as mayor and all that. I'd like to talk about the future of the city, but I just want everyone to know there is life after mayor. You can be a practicing lawyer or a successful one at Greenberg and Trog. Is that the name of the firm?
Greenberg Trog, yes.
Trog, and you're located in downtown Providence in Mayor Paolino's building, I understand.
Yes,
Am I correct?
I have a tough landlord.
A tough landlord, okay. And Mayor Paolino, of course, which we also, before he was mayor, or after he was mayor, was a director of economic development for the city of Providence and went on to be an ambassador, and then is a very, very substantial property holder in the city of Providence and other places too, and develops property. But I'd like to talk about the future of the city of Providence, but we have to talk a little bit about the past. What is the most memorable moment you had as mayor of the city of Providence, outside of being sworn in when I left?
That was a good day.
That was a good day. It was your birthday too, wasn't it, the next day? Yeah.
Well, Buddy, some of the projects I was involved in kind of overlapped with you, too.
Yeah.
And that was the Providence Place Mall, the
Right.
river relocation, building the convention center. And
You were economic development director for the state when we did that.
when we did the mall, but we started the mall back in
Yeah.
1987 when we first announced it. I'll never forget the developers said it's going to take 10 years to build this.
Yeah.
I said nothing in this city should take 10 years.
Yeah.
It took
10 years, exactly.
And you became mayor, and then
Yeah,
we
that's
ended
right.
up having the groundbreaking.
And then
so
I
think those
yeah.
projects were good. Getting a teacher's contract done in June before the end of the school year was memorable. I enjoyed, that was a good thing I think that happened during my tenure. And we got involved a lot with the neighborhoods, and I used to have the neighborhood meetings. I used to do a lot of listening, less talking, more listening, and I think that was also helpful. And then when Newsweek made us one of America's hottest cities,
Yeah, remember
that capped it off, and that was a nice thing.
All right, Mayor Taveras, what are your most memorable moments?
Well, I had many. I mean, obviously there were some good moments, some difficult moments. I'm certainly proud of the fact that we were able to keep the city of Providence out of bankruptcy. That was something that wasn't a given when I took office. And on March 11th, or March 3rd, 2011, when we revealed really the deficit that we were looking at. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of how the city came together. So many people, so many unions who came together to help us. The universities, the hospitals, for the first time contributing to the city. Very proud of that. But one of the moments I'm very proud of is winning Bloomberg Philanthropies Mayor's Challenge.
Oh yeah, that's still in effect, isn't it?
It's still in effect. It's we beat out 304 other cities, $5 million, and we're really helping to educate kids early on in life and helping with their brain development as well, and make sure that parents realize how important it is to talk to your child. And I was just in California talking about it. So that's a day that I'll always remember, and I always remember it as well. And I was on your radio show afterwards. It was the day that Pope Francis was selected. And remember, we joked about it, and I said it was a sign of divine intervention. But something very, very proud of.
That's great. Well, let me ask you this. I want to talk a little about the future of the city of Providence. What do you think the biggest problem confronting the city of Providence is today?
I think education is critical. And with the whole new millennium wave that we're in, we have to make sure that we keep citizens after they graduate in Providence, but we got to give them a good education. And I don't know if that's happening now. I always have felt that there's too many kids in a classroom. It's a budget buster, and we all know that. But it's very difficult for one teacher to teach 30 kids from 30 different countries, all different cultures and backgrounds. I think it's very challenging. What the mayor did was early intervention and going for pre-K. I think that was very important. What Mayor Taveras did when he was in office.
You know, when you reduce the class size of a classroom, it's a real big budget buster, because you have to hire new teachers or extra teachers, and you need more buildings. Sometimes it's really a big burden. but I think you're right. I would think from you being a business guy from the business side, I would think you would have said the budget is the biggest problem the city had. Let's see what Mayor Taveras says is the biggest.
Well, he straightened out the budget problem.
Well, you inherited, I think you called it a Category 5 hurricane when Cicilline left office.
Well, we found a very difficult circumstances when I took office, and I'm glad that my last 2 full years in office, we had a $1.6 million operating surplus, $1.1 million operating surplus, and very small, but heading in the right direction. I think the big challenge in the city is a broader challenge, and that's helping to restore hope and making sure that people realize that we have a better future ahead of us. And I think the job of any mayor is to try to improve on the circumstances of the city. And I'm speaking to mayors who know that. And so I think that's really important in our city. We have more work to do to improve education, to make sure that our kids are ready for the future, and to help develop the future leaders of tomorrow. I mean, I'm a product of the Providence Public Schools.
Yeah.
The mayor who spoke at my graduation is sitting right across from me. And I remind him of that every day, but I always remember that he was there. That was something that was important to me. We need to make sure that we prepare our kids for the future. We need to make sure to restore hope. And it's a lot more than just education. It's about economic opportunity, safety, all of those issues.
You know, I also know that that in order for the city of Providence to realize its full potential, people always ask me, what's the biggest contribution, you know, in the 22 years you were mayor? And I always said, it was the building of the mall, which Joe was very much a part of, or the relocation of Rivers, or whether it was the restoring of the casino or the ice rink and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't any of those things. It was all a part of it. It was making the people of the city of Providence feel good about themselves and feeling that they had reached a level of self-esteem that they never thought they could achieve. And that's what I think all mayors have to do. Let me ask you a question. Because how many, and not to be sarcastic, but how many trips did you take to foreign countries in your first 6 months of office?
None.
How about you?
I think I went to Bermuda on my honeymoon.
Yeah, that
That's
was
the
it.
closest I
Okay.
got.
I'm going to pass on that.
You're going to pass on that one, okay. All right. Now, you know, the budget situation in the city of Providence today, you know, all these things are nice that we're talking about in education, and that's very important, and certainly morale and all. But the fact of the matter is the city, I mean, I had John Igliozzi, who we all know, on the show the other day, my radio show, and he is, you know, very concerned about the budget situation where the city announced a $5 million operating deficit this year. They were only able to save, they claim, the budget this past year by
How can they be $5 million? You gave them a surplus. How can that
Yeah.
be a $5 million deficit?
And you had a program laid out so that they wouldn't be in this situation. They just refused. They didn't follow it, I guess. When you left office, what did you leave financial? What kind of finance? What the books shape? What kind of shape were the books when you left?
The last report that we filed in December 31st, I think it was December 31st, 2014, projected a $300,000 surplus, which is essentially a balanced budget. But as you know, budgets are difficult to manage. They're not easy. You've got to stay very, very focused on them. And I think the questions will be raised relative to what's going on in the city. We have a tight budget situation, and certainly while I was mayor, I recognized that. And you know, during the election, I vetoed a tax break for non-owner-occupied landlords. No one wants to veto a tax break in the middle of an election, but it was the right thing to do. And I said it at the time. I thought it was the right thing to do. So you've got to make tough choices, and you've got to manage the budget. You've got to be focused on it, and it's not easy. And obviously I'm talking to two people here who know how difficult it is.
Another courageous thing you did. Another courageous thing you did was hold the commercial property tax. I know it's high, and so you said we can't raise it anymore, and you didn't, and you had to kind of shift the burden to homeowners, which is also a gutsy thing to do in the middle of, you know, I know you had plans to run for governor. That's a tough thing to do.
Well, it's a challenge. It's certainly a challenge. We were the highest in the nation. I think we're 4th highest now.
Yeah.
And while that's still too high,
yeah.
but at least we're going in the right direction. Although I suppose when you're at the top, there's only one direction to go. But it was a difficult decision, and quite frankly, members of the council voted against one of my budgets because of it. What I recognize is that we want to grow jobs in our city. We want to grow jobs in our state. We've got to be competitive, and that's what we certainly try to do, and do it the best way and the most responsible way that we could.
What is the future of the city of Providence as far, okay, we talk about education. We know we have to educate kids. We have to keep the kids here. But the I-95 project, there's all kinds of tax breaks that are going on over there, which is fine. But a city is not built just on one project, or like the I-95 project. It's built because people have confidence in the city. People have confidence in education. They feel that they're safe. And I don't think people feel that they're safe in the city anymore. As far as downtown, the east side has got their own vigilante groups. What would you do if you were mayor now to solve that problem? I mean, they've got groups forming on the east side to hire private security guards.
Well, you know, quite frankly, you have to have a full table of organization of your cops.
Yeah.
And we don't have that. I think there's about, what, 100 short?
Yeah.
On the Providence Police Department. So, I mean, that's number one problem. Two, you know, the other day I went to a parents' weekend at Brown University where my son is at.
Yeah.
And it was nice to hear some people from out of town, if they were in California or New York, saying how great the city looks.
Yeah.
But I see a different city sometimes.
Yep.
I see the crimes of quality of life that have taken place. That's terrible. I mean, we don't have enough programs for the homeless to be able to take care of them, and what happens is they end up taking over the sidewalks of the streets of the city. They make it their home. That's a sign of failure of a city sometimes when I see that. When I see the Superman building empty, 400,000 square feet, to me, from an economic development standpoint, that's a symbol of economic development failure. So with what Governor Raimondo is doing and what Mayor Taveras started and the new mayor is working on is the I-95, I do think it's important because I do think our economy is going towards education and health care, and I think it's very important. A big challenge is going to be what's going to happen to lifespan. And with Care New England, are they going to, any of them going to merge with somebody from out of state? Will they find some sense and maybe do some merging with each other to try to protect these jobs that are in Rhode Island? I think that's critical. One of the things that Governor Raimondo has talked about is that she wants to create 6,000 jobs that pay $60,000 or more. And if she's able to do that, it's going to bring in roughly around $125 million a year. You have to try to grow yourself into a new economy.
So how do you do that? How do you do that when businesses look at this state and we have, you know, we don't have the skilled workforce that we're supposed to have, number one. Number two, the city of Providence is just about ready for adult supervision when it comes to the budgets. They got a $20, $30 million projected deficit. And how do you put all that money in I-95 when you're trying to sell a state in the capital city where you want these companies to locate, or the city's going to go broke? I mean, that's kind of working at cross purposes. So don't you have to find a way to create jobs here, yes, but also make it appealing for a company to come here? And you can't do that till you do basic blocking and tackling, bring your property tax rate down, do all the kind of stuff that's going to make a city attractive. What do you say to that?
Well, I think several things. I mean, first of all, in terms of the question you had about crime, I think it's important to put it in perspective. According to the FBI data, 2014 was the safest year in decades. Now, that's no consolation. That's no solace to anyone.
But it's a perception.
Exactly. To anyone who's been a victim of a crime doesn't want to hear about a statistic.
That's exactly
they don't want. They don't want to hear that. But I think it's important that that people know that everyone is out there doing everything they can to keep the city safe, and that is something that never ends. It has to go on all the time, and that it's not just the police department. This is about community groups. This is about organizations. This is about everyone working together to make sure that the city's safe. And I think the other thing is this: you build on successes. You have to make sure that you build on the successes that exist, and you stop building momentum in that way. We started several years ago. We made sure, for example, that we didn't raise that the commercial property tax, so that we can try to be more competitive. We're building on educational opportunities because we have Brown University and RISD and Johnson & Wales.
They're all those great things, but
we have to continue to build on those successes and build up some momentum so that people believe in our city.
Okay, I've got to stop you right there. We're going to take a little break. We'll be right back with the three musketeers here, and who have we have one thing in common. We all love the city of Providence, and we all ran for governor and lost. So maybe we can share some notes on that. Okay, let's go take a little break. We'll be right back with On the Record with Buddy Cianci. Okay, here we are back again on the Record with Buddy Cianci. My guest, former Mayor Paolino, former Mayor Angel Taveras. We wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about the future of the city of Providence. You wanted to add about something about the future.
One of the things I've seen in being in business in downtown is one of the greatest assets we have is the train station in downtown Providence. It's big. A lot of prospective tenants that we talk to want to have quick, easy access going back and forth to Boston, going back to New York. My question is, why in the United States of America, why can't we have a bullet train like they have in Europe or in Asia.
Because we want to build a trolley car.
Where you, yeah, well, where we could go to
150
Boston in, let's say, 15 or 20 minutes, go
That's
to New York
amazing.
in about an hour and 15 minutes. The kind of commerce that would bring into the city would be incredible. And I wish, and I don't hear it talked about by our mayor, by our governor, by our congressional delegation.
That would be a real link to Boston and also New York.
It's so big, it's so major. But by the way, I don't hear anybody from anywhere else. But I'll tell you what, Harry Reid, when they had the stimulus money, he made sure there's a bullet train funded going from Las Vegas to LA. And the people in Florida made sure they got a bullet train going from Orlando to Miami. But in the Northeast Corridor, we don't have it. And I think everybody is failing not to speak out aggressively to try to get Amtrak and the Congress to go along with something like that.
But we do build train stations down in Wickford that they're going to pretty much shut down.
A lot of people talk about the Studio 38, which was a boondoggle, we'll admit that. But you know what a bigger boondoggle is? What they did at the airport.
At Warwick?
How many people coming off that train, going through a mile-long tunnel to get on a train to go to Providence, to change another train to go to New York? It makes zero sense, and that was a true waste of money.
And I sent one of my guys from WPRO out there one day to look at it. There wasn't even a place to buy tickets, and there were like 3 cars in the parking garage. And he got on the train, and I see it when I come home at night. I see the train coming in, the one that goes to Warwick. There's about 2 people on it. These 2 big double-decker trains, but we do have a place for trains, and it's not trolley cars. How do you feel about the trolley car situation? Would you, if you were mayor, would you be behind that $130 million trolley car link that goes from the Union Station to the hospital? It goes 1.6 miles.
I agree with the governor. I think the governor, Governor Raimondo, has said, it's a nice to have, but not a need to have. Yeah. And I think in a perfect world, it'd be great, but I think when you have schools that really need really rehabilitation, when you have infrastructure on our streets that need work, I mean, it's about priorities, and you know that. I mean, this is about what is the most important thing. And so from my perspective, I think that the schools and our infrastructure and making sure that we can deliver basic city services are vital. And that's an important focus.
If you were mayor right now, and taking you from those millions of dollars a year you guys are making, what would you be doing that's not being done, or what would be your priorities? Public safety. We're the firefighter situation. We've got a big problem with that. What would you be doing right now if you were in that room 1 in City Hall?
Oh no, one of the things I've tried to do. I don't have a radio show, so I can do it a lot easier. I've tried very much to give the new mayor an opportunity to govern and do his work, and that's important to me. I'm focused now on being the best father I can, best husband, best lawyer I can, and doing everything I can to take care of my family, and trying to be respectful and give him some space to do his thing, because it's easy to certainly talk about those things, but I've tried the best I can to
they're claiming at City Hall that you left them in the lurch with the budget. That's what they say. That's what Smiley and those guys have said to finance committee, but you're not going to bite at that, right?
As I said, I don't have a radio show, so I don't talk about the past. I look at the forward.
Smart move, smart move, smart move. What would you do if you were mayor of the city of Providence today?
Well, I think 3 things.
Besides resigned.
No. In fact, all of us loved being there because we saw that we could make a difference by being a mayor of a city.
And we all did, in our own ways.
And I always enjoyed economic development, and I think I talked about the Amtrak, and I would really try to push that with the Conference of Mayors and our congressional delegation. Education is something that I think differently today than when I was mayor, because when I was mayor, I was 29, and I didn't have any children, and I've learned so much from my own kids, what they go through in the school process. And I think smaller class size and early intervention and after school
all cost
work,
big money, though.
It would cost money, but it's costing us a lot more money by having these kids get involved in a lot of trouble, and some of them getting incarcerated. So those things, and the budget will always be the big challenge, and I think fighting at the State House and being there, trying to get more dollars for the city of Providence is critical.
Firefighters, and then we're going to get into national politics. Firefighters in the city of Providence have always been kind of a problem. They're the smartest politicians in the city, I've always said. There's no question about that. But and I'm sure you were aware of this, they get the best ratings from the public as far as public service is concerned. You do a poll, what's the best city service firefighters? Because they take you to the hospital when you're having a heart attack, and they get you out of the house when it's burning. And there always seems to be a problem with pay. Now the fire department has got a very low number of people on the job right now. They're like, I forgot what they are, 390 or something like that. And this 3-platoon system is going to cost $7 million extra, according to Matt Clark, who you know and I know and Joe knows. That's what his numbers are with the extra when they go to arbitration. That's insane. What would you do with firefighters? I mean, you've had your problems with them. I've had mine.
We've all had our challenges with them because we're fighting for the taxpayer. We're trying to keep taxes down.
You think more firefighters should be hired?
We all want more firefighters to be hired. The thing is, I'm not there to see what's happening on a daily basis. I know this. I think the president of the union is a very rational, smart individual.
He's a lawyer.
And he's somebody that I have always felt comfortable with talking to.
Yeah.
And I think the more you communicate, not one meeting, not two meetings, you may need 100 meetings, but never stop communicating, never stop talking.
Okay. Let's get on to national politics. We've only got a few minutes left. You're a Hillary Clinton supporter.
Yes,
big time.
Yes.
I understand that. You're on the flag. I sent you an email with your name. I don't know if you got it. Showed the bundlers, Hillary Clinton's bundlers.
I'm a proud bundler.
You're a proud bundler.
Yes, I am.
And are you a Hillary Clinton supporter too?
I am, but I'm not quite a bundler. But
You're
I
a
am.
bundler,
I
but you're a
am.
supporter.
I am a supporter.
Now, what do you think of Donald Trump? I mean, I know you guys are Democrats, but Donald Trump has made a kind of a remarkable presence in the Republican in the country, where he doesn't spend the kind of money that we all expected him to spend, but he's #1 in the polls. I think just recently he dropped a little bit in New Hampshire or wherever it was, Iowa maybe, but still he's maintained a tremendous presence. Why do you think he's out there that strongly?
You know, it's
With the
really
stuff he says.
it's really amazing when you think about it. It's been quite a spectacle. And the one thing I would say, I think that he represents a core part of the Republican Party. And I think that he's talking to that core constituency, which is anti-immigrant, which is anti-woman, which is a very different type of constituency. And a lot of Republicans sometimes shy away from it, or they call it compassionate conservatism or anything else. And Donald Trump is really appealing to that core constituency. And that's why I think he's doing well with the Republicans.
But he's ahead. But you know, when they do the polls, yeah, he's ahead in the Republicans. But he also, every one of the top three tier Republican candidates, according to the polls, beat Hillary Clinton. And of course, I know it's early, but every one of those guys beats Hillary Clinton in the general election. And one of the reasons Biden didn't get in is he could beat the top 3 Republicans in a general election, but he can't win the primary or can't win the nomination.
Well, let me say this: that you have had a Republican Congress making this Benghazi and this email thing into an issue that their own majority leader said, we put this committee together to bring down her poll numbers. And I'm going to tell you,
I don't think he said it just like that.
Oh, it did. He said, look at her numbers. They were brought down with their committee. And the thing has been very political. I think she did a wonderful job today. Yep. And I think the next polling you'll see, I think you're going to see her move. But politics, as we all know, is more than a 9-inning baseball game. We're only in the 2nd inning. Yep. People are going to go up and they're going to go down. Who's going to be there in the 9th inning or extra innings? And I think she's conducting herself well.
She's come up in the last
She's done great in the
two.
debate. She did great today. And I think the Republicans have really shown what they are doing. It's making it a very partisan committee investigating her.
All right. So apparently neither of you are supporting Donald Trump.
No.
Who would you like to see as vice president if Hillary does get it?
I haven't thought about that. Terry McAuliffe, governor of Virginia.
Julian Castro, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, I think would be a great vice president.
All right. And are either one of you planning on running as a delegate to the Democratic convention?
I can say that I'm today on your show.
You're announcing
my
news.
candidacy.
Joe Paolino. How about Mayor Angel Taveras?
You never say never, but I have no intention of running as a delegate or anything else. So
That's
I'm
it. You
very
had
good.
it for politics?
Well,
Is that it for now?
I say you never say never, but I'm very happy doing what I'm doing. I'm working as a lawyer. I'm raising my family, and I find that
Did you like being mayor?
I enjoyed being mayor. I gave everything I had in the 4 years that I was mayor.
Yeah.
Even as a candidate, I made decisions that I knew would not be helpful in terms of the race for governor. But you do what you think is right because you realize how important it is for the future of this city.
You know, you were ahead in the polls for governor for a while there that I remember.
The only poll that counts is election day.
I
and that one
understand
wasn't
that.
close.
I understand that. But there were so many of you in the race there, and then Raimondo won by 40%, I guess. And then you were next in line. I think you were. No, there was, in the primary. She beat you in the primary, and that was she got. What did she get in the primary? She got a substantial number of votes, or whatever she got.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did
what's
very well, and
interesting
she's
now?
doing well now.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting? We all ran for governor. We lost, but we all ran. And one of the key reasons why we ran is to try to help our city of
That's right.
Providence more. And we knew that in the governor's chair, you could try to do that. And it's tough because you also have problems in Providence that none of us can control. And the events take it over, then your opponents amplify it, and they make something bigger than what it really was.
What plays in South Providence, what plays on the east side of Providence, and
Different
what
from
plays
Barrington.
doesn't play in Barrington or Newport or Coventry or places like that. And I don't. The last governor of the state of Rhode Island from Providence was Dennis Roberts, and that was in the 50s. That's 65 years, 60 years ago, whatever it was. And that was when the party was much different.
We weren't around, but you were.
No, but yeah. Well, I'm a little older than both you guys, a little wiser, you know. But anyway, but Dennis Roberts was the last one. But there were many people who tried, us, the three of us, and I just don't think it's possible for a mayor of Providence in this environment to become governor. I really don't. I thought you were a shoo-in this last time, but it didn't happen. But anyway, we've got about 30 seconds left. Any of you would you like to give any parting knowledge to anybody here watching you this morning?
We talked about being mayor. We all enjoyed doing it.
Right.
I'll tell you that even the bad days were an
good days.
honor to represent the people of the city of Providence.
I agree.
And now in my role as being out of it, I hope I can be one of the best, because there's two others here, one of the best former mayors the city could ever have.
And I would just say that it was an honor and a privilege to serve as mayor of the city of Providence, to be the first Latino mayor, and to know that little kids could look at you and say, I can do this because I see that he did it.
You both have good legacies. That's why I wanted to have you on the show with 33, 32 years of being mayor here.
Now, you asked us about us. Would you ever run again?
Well, you never say never, to quote the mayor. But thanks so much for being here. And if anybody wants to get a little legal service, Greenberg and Trog. Is that how I say it?
Greenberg Trog.
Trog, yeah, okay. Right in the Mayor Paolino's building at...
Oh, that's important.
All right. Thanks for watching. I had a little fun this morning. And stay tuned for more great programming on ABC 6. Thanks for watching 6 News on the Record with Buddy Cianci. Have a great afternoon.